من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا طاهرا مباركا فيه وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من عبادك الراشدين. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and peace and blessings be upon His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Continuing inshallah with the Khilafah or the history of the Khulafa al-Rashideen, this great history in Islam, and continuing with the Khilafah of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And we spoke last week about the judiciary system in Islam and the importance of that, and how Umar radiyallahu anhu, he developed the judiciary system in Islam and how it became the way it was, a pinnacle point within history that not only the Muslimin benefited from, but even those Western countries later on didn't reach the status of that which Umar radiallahu anhu had laid out until hundreds of years later. And another very important factor in the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu, in which he developed and supervised and made it to the point where it was near to perfection, was the financial institutions. And as we all know, that there is no country, that there is no business, that there is no marriage or family that can run unless there is a financial income, and unless there is sustenance and something to maintain that country, that business, or that partnership, or whatever it might be in this dunya. And Umar radiallahu anhu, during his Khilafah, he developed the financial institutions until it reached the stage in which the people that came behind him hundreds of years later, even till our days today, they still look back at the way that Umar radiallahu anhu had organized and developed the financial institutions, to learn from it and to see how he made it to be the way it is that time. And one very important thing when we talk about the financial institutions and ijtihad and opinion of Umar radiallahu anhu, when it came to these matters, it was all of his understanding of the Qur'an and the Sunnah. And he's looking at what is in the best interest and the maslahah of the Muslimin, and that which will benefit the Muslimin and the general population of the Muslimin, not only at his time, but years and generations in front of him. And another very important aspect when we speak about these matters is that we understand and we realize and we have conviction that the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala need to be followed. And when it comes to a ruling or a hukum or a judgment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid down in the Qur'an, that we have to adhere and we have to listen and we have to follow. And the way that the person he is able to submit is when the person understands that these rulings are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the most knowledgeable, the all-knowing, and He is Al-Hakim, the most wise, and He is the creator, the one who knows the creation and what is best for them better than themselves. So when you're able to submit and have conviction about this matter, that these rulings, especially when it comes to things that are beloved to a lot of people, to many people, like marriage, like financial, like money, like wealth, when there are rulings attached to it, when there is halal and haram, when there are rulings that the person has to adhere to, listen to, then the person submits and has the conviction that this is better for you. Why? Because it was laid and set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how the Khulafa al-Rashideen, they regarded the wealth in any form and all types of wealth as belonging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that we, being the human being, being the mankind, we have been entrusted with this wealth. And we have been entrusted with this money that we have. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has ordered us and is watching upon us to see where we will dispose this wealth. and how we will dispose this wealth. That's why in Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam he said that from the 4 things that the son of Adam will not move on a day of judgment until he is questioned about, one of them is the money. And that money has 2 questions: where it came from and where it was spent. Where it came from halal means, okay, that's half. Where you spent it is the other half. It's not sufficient enough that the person has gained a large amount of wealth and has gained money that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him in a halal way or has gained it in halal means, but also where was it spent and how was it spent. And where did you put that wealth? Where did you put that money? Did you put it in a place that pleases Allah, so you've continued the contract of attaining that wealth? Or did you use it in a means that not only was haram, prohibited, but also could fall under the subject of being a waste of money, or ibzar, tabzir, or israf, or using wealth in a way that does not please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Khulafa al-Rashideen, and amongst them Umar ibn al-Khattab, they saw this wealth, this money, as a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is mentioned clearly in the Qur'an, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَوْ آمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَأَنفِقُوا مِمَّا جَعَلَكُمْ مُسْتَخْلَفِينَ فِيهِ. He says, believe in Allah and His Prophet. Believe in Allah and His Prophet. And comes with belief, submission, following the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the order of His Prophet. And spend from that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed you as a trustee. مُسْتَخْلَفِينَ فِيهِ. That's why the Khalifa is the one who is entrusted with that which has been given, like the Khilafah, the organization of the Muslims and the lands of the Muslimin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I'm going to place on earth a Khalifa, a person who will be entrusted with that which he will be given on earth. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَنفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. O you who believe, spend, give from that which we have given you. We here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From what we have sustained you, we have given you, we have provided you with. And then another great understanding laid out in the Qur'an, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where He says, وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ. And in the heavens, in the sama, is your sustenance, is your provision, meaning that it is sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ, and that which you have been promised, the Jannah in the Akhirah. So this understanding that Umar radiallahu anhu he had when it came to the wealth, this belief and this faith-based thinking is what made Umar radiallahu anhu look at the wealth in the Khilafah, in the state of the Muslimin, and when it increased greatly during his reign, made him to see, okay, this wealth that is coming in, it is not sufficient enough that this wealth is coming in without there being development supervisors, workers, people who were overlooking this wealth. Because during the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu, in the Mediterranean, in the Arabian Peninsula, in those areas there, in Sham, the 2 greatest empires were taken out, demolished. The Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. They were taken out, and the wealth that was left behind by these people, the booty of war, that which they had gained, was very large in number. And all of this wealth coming in, and we'll come to understand where the income of the Khilafah had come in from. Because as we mentioned, no Khilafah can work and can move forward unless there is income. There always has to be income, wealth that is coming in order for the Khalifa, in order for the country to move forward. And imagine a country, imagine a business, you want to run a business, but you have no money, you have no income. And you're not making any profit, you're not bringing anything in. How is that business going to move forward? It can't move forward. Because there's expenditures and there's income. In the Khilafah, there's many expenditures. Just look at a center, ask a center. How much money do you spend? Just itself, مثلا here in the center, just the masjid, the electricity, the air condition, all of this is expenditure, all of this is wealth, money that needs to be paid. If there isn't an income, then how are you going to pay for this? There's workers, there's full-time workers, there's people who, there's many things, maintenance, upgrading, there's many things that need an income, need profit, need money to spend and to maintain that which is coming. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he started to develop this institution and he started to appoint workers to supervise all of this. As we mentioned in the judiciary system, Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to take care of it himself. That when the burden, the expenditure of the khilafah, he can no longer be the khalifa, be the imam of the Muslimin, and then also have to deal with all the problems and to sit and listen to all the problems. It takes away from his time. Same thing with the financial institution. He can't run everything. So the person has to be able to what? The person has to be able to give positions, give jobs, supervisors, to look around and to develop the different sources and to take care of the different sources of the Muslimin. And this is something that Umar radiallahu anhu, he perfected. And this is something that Umar radiallahu anhu, he was able to maximize and to gain the maximum benefit from this. The important or the most important sources of income in the Islamic Khilafah were zakat. Zakat was one of the important sources of income in the Islamic Khilafah. The ghanima, the booty of war, coming in was also an important source of income. Al-fay, which is a source or which is a form of booty of war. Al-fay is booty of war that is gained from taking over a land with no fighting. Al-ghanima is when there's fighting, when there's war, when there's a battle. Al-fay, when there's no war, there's no fighting. There are two different things, they both have different ahkam. Al-ghanima, because the soldiers took part in the fighting, they have a share, or they take a share. Al-fay, they didn't take a part in it, because there was no fighting, there was no war, there was no battle. So the ahkam for it are different. Al-jizya, the taxes on the Islamic or on the non-Muslims who were living under the Islamic ruling. Al-kharaj, which we'll come to understand a bit more. Al-ushur, which is the, as you can say, the border taxes. Anything that came in, anything that went out, there was taxes. All of this was done in the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. These were the main sources of income in the Islamic Khilafah, other than the sadaqat, the charities, the wealth that is given, when willingly, the sadaqat, the wealth that was given by the people. The first and most important source of income was zakat. And we all know that zakat, the definition of zakat is spending or giving an amount of money, 2.5%. Because you have reached a certain amount of money, which is today calculated today, it's around between 4,500 to 5,000. That's nisab, according to gold. In silver, it's around $500. Silver is around $500. Back then, the gold and silver, they were equal, the nisab. 100 coins of silver were equal to 10 coins of gold. And they were always equal. Now the price of gold has skyrocketed. So the gold now, if you were to measure then how much the nisab, the threshold for gold was, it's $4,500 to $5,000. The same amount in silver today is worth $500. Today is worth $500. The majority of ulama, they calculate the nisab, the threshold, according to gold. According to gold. So it's a certain amount, 2.5%, because you've reached a certain amount, $4,500, $5,000, after a year has gone past. After a year has gone past. So if I've got $4,500 of wealth that I have on the side, in my bank account, in the drawer at home, in the secret stash, wherever it might be, where the wife doesn't know it is, which the majority of money is in that place, is in that position. You have 4,500, 5,000 more. Once you reach that amount, you're right, at the date 1, 2, 3, the Islamic calendar, not the Gregorian calendar, the Islamic calendar, I reached the threshold. a year down the track, if I don't go under that amount, according to some ulama, if I don't go under that amount, a year down the road, I have $10,000, I have to pay 2.5% on that $10,000. And that's your zakat. And that's the zakatul mal. And that's the zakatul mal. Some of the ulama say that even if you go under, and you have $5,000 on the 1st of Ramadan, masalan. 1st of Ramadan, majority of people, they calculate Ramadan as the time for zakat. The 1st of Ramadan, I had $5,000. End of Ramadan, buying Eid presents, giving Eidiyah, giving all of these things, it went down. And then it came back up. And then it went down. Then it came back up, which normally if the person is buying and selling and using business together, it goes up and down. At the end of that year, if you have more, you pay 2.5%, even if you went under during the year, which is the opinion of the Ahnaf, the Hanafi madhab. The other madhahib say, the minute you go under, when you go back up, you start again. And I went over 1st of Ramadan, the 1st of Dhul Hijjah, I went down. The next year, Rabi' al-Awwal, I went back up to 5,000. I set Rabi' al-Awwal as the zakat. I set Rabi' al-Awwal, so it begins again. It begins again. This is in simple forms as zakat. And zakat is on wealth, is on crops, is on animals, camels, cows, sheep, and is also on urud al-tijara. Urud al-tijara is, for instance, someone has a shop, someone has a business. The merchandise, you have to pay zakat on it. You have to pay zakat on it. And then later on, as we'll come to understand, Umar radiallahu anhu, he placed zakat on horses other than those that were used for jihad. Only horses that were used for jihad were not taken zakat. And we'll come to that, inshallah. So the most important source of income for the Muslimin was the zakat. And it's a social component and a social pillar of Islam. And it's an obligation. It's not a choice. Sadaqah, charity, that's a choice. Zakat is an obligation. Bunya al-Islamu ala khams. From amongst them is zakat. From amongst them is zakat. But you have to fulfill the conditions. Being a sane person, an adult, mature, have reached the threshold. Difference of opinion if it's applicable on or it's a condition to be reached maturity. Is the zakat on the child under the age of puberty? Isn't there difference of opinion? The zakat, if the person is insane, if he has money but on the side, is there still zakat? These are difference of opinion between the ulama. And it's obligatory not only on the males but also on the females. If the female has riches, has wealth, has money, she also has to pay zakat. And she has to pay her own zakat, not someone else pay it for her. Because there are sometimes one instant that the father was paying the zakat for his daughter from his money. That's not allowed. You have to pay from your own money. It's taking money out of your wealth and paying it. So 2.5% is the first obligation that is connected to wealth that was led or set upon the Muslimin. Zakat was the first obligation when it comes to wealth, when it came to the Muslimin. And we said crop, fruits, gold, silver, trade goods, livestock, all of these contain zakat upon them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the details of this is in the lessons of fiqh or in the books of fiqh, the details, how many camels, how many cows, how many sheep, crops, how many such, that's all in the books of fiqh. And the reason for zakat, what is the reason for zakat? Why is the obligation of zakat there? First and foremost, zakat linguistically means what? At-tahara. So first and foremost, it's a purification of the wealth. And you've gained a certain amount of wealth. To purify, to make sure that the wealth is 100%, you pay your zakat. Not saying that, okay, I'm dealing with riba, I'm dealing with such and such, I'm selling alcohol, I'm selling this, I'm selling prohibited goods, I'm selling something that is haram, or purified by paying zakat. No, it doesn't work that way. It works in which the person is gaining 99.9% of his wealth from halal means. And these days it's very hard for the person to be 100%, or it's not very hard, it's just we make it very hard for the person to be 100% when it comes to income. So you're gaining your wealth from halal, to purify it even more, you pay your zakat. And 2.5%, what's 2.5%? 2.5% is a very small number. Very small number. $2.50 for every $100. $2.50 for every $100. You pay more than that on a day's work buying a coffee. You pay more than that. So $2.50 on every $100. Another understanding or another meaning of zakat in the Arabic language, an-nama, growth. Growth. What does it mean, growth? Through you paying your zakat, through you willingly taking out that money and paying your zakat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase your wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah, will put blessing in your wealth, and your wealth will increase. Your wealth will increase. So there's two main benefits to the individual. First, it's a purification for your wealth. Second, it's a growth for your wealth. But socially, the zakat is given to who? To the person in need. Al-fuqara, al-masakin, the ones who are in need, the person who's in debt, the person who's such and such, the different masarif, zakat, with the zakat. So the zakat, it builds a relationship between the poor and the rich. Between the poor and the rich. Because it's wealth that is taken out from the rich man and is given to the poor person. And to understand this completely, at the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the one who is considered the fifth rightfully guided Khalifa, who's from the descendants of Umar ibn al-Khattab, at his time, through the institution of zakat, through dealing with zakat the way it should be dealt with, there was no poor person. There was no one who was poor who was living under the Khilafah at that time. Who was living under the Khilafah at that time. They didn't know, they didn't have anywhere to give out the zakat or the money of zakat. Why? Because it was dealt with in the proper way. It was dealt with in the proper way. There was no one who was in need, no one who was poor, living under the Islamic Khilafah. And today, if we were to deal with it the proper way and in the proper manner, it would be the same. It would be the same. Today, if you look statistically, there's a large gap between the people who have wealth and between the middle class person and then between the poor person. And between the poor person. Islam doesn't differentiate. Islam doesn't differentiate whether you're poor, you're rich. If you're poor, you have rulings you don't have to give. If you're rich, you have to give that wealth and you have to give that manner. So it's kind of a social security and creates a bond and love between the poor and between the rich. That's why Islam paid a great deal of attention to the issue of wealth and established zakat as a precise, wise and compassionate system which brings the people, brings the hearts together. That's why one of the most beautiful things that the person can do, and this is something that is good for you to teach your children, is when you give the sadaqat or when you give the zakat. This is something that it creates that bond, it creates that relationship, creates that, and it takes away that gap between the poor and between the rich, especially the pride sense of it, and in the sense of being at that high level. Umar radiallahu anhu, when it came to zakat, he followed the footsteps of his predecessors in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And in the way that zakat was collected is that collectors used to be sent out. And each governor, each place, each area, Umar radiallahu anhu or the Khalifa, even at the times of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to bring or send out a collector, a zakat collector. Why? Because this person is entrusted, this person is given that role of going and collecting the money. And collecting the money. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to send them out to all the different states. To all the different states, they will be sent out and they'll attain the zakat from the people. And there was justice in collecting the zakat. And this was a hallmark of the khulafa. There used to be justice. Nothing was taken forcibly. Nothing was taken the best of what the person has, especially when it came to crops, when it came to livestock. Umar radiallahu anhu, he criticized one of the collectors of zakat, when he took a sheep with big udders, it had a lot of milk in it. And it was a sheep that used to gather a lot of milk. And he said its owner did not give it willingly. He said an owner will never give up this sheep. He has many other sheep. He will never give up this sheep willingly. Do not cause distress to the people. Don't allow the person to fear the collector when he's coming to collect the zakat. No, let the people do it in a way and in a form in which they what? They are happy to give the wealth. That's why, as mentioned in Tafsir, in the books of Tafsir, that one companion at the days of the Prophet ﷺ, he used to ask the Prophet ﷺ to give him wealth and to make dua for him to be rich. And Nabi ﷺ, he used to not make dua until he insisted. Nabi ﷺ made dua for him to be rich. I'll give my zakat, I'll give this, I'll give that. Nabi ﷺ made dua for him. When he made dua for him, he started to gain wealth. And then when Nabi ﷺ, he passed away, and the collectors of zakat, they came, that same person, that same man, he said, there's no more zakat. He was one of the ones who rejected zakat. إِنَّهَا لَأُخْتُ الزَّكَاةِ. It's the sister of zakat. It's not zakat, it's the sister. We used to give to the Prophet ﷺ, and that's it. So sometimes the person, you have to deal with them in a way, in a manner that they want to give the wealth. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the Quran, Surah Al-Insan, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. And they feed the people, they give the food عَلَى حُبِّهِ, because they love to, they want to. They're not waiting for a thank you, or they're not waiting for you to give them something. They fear the day of judgment, they fear the day that they will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the increase of the wealth of the people, when the increase of the wealth comes in, the people, their wealth starts to increase. And the people start to gain money. Umar radiallahu anhu, he appointed zakat on horses that were used for trading, even though it wasn't done before him. Because the people started to trade with horses, hundreds, thousands of horses. So he appointed zakat on the horses that were used for trading, not on the horses that were used for jihad. 10 dirham on every Arabian horse and 5 dirham on every non-Arabian horse. Because the Arabian horse is known to be, even today, one of the most expensive horses. The Arabian horse, if you have a purebred Arabian horse, it's very expensive. It's very, you're looking in the millions of dollars. A purebred Arabian horse. Arabian horses, if you didn't know, they have bloodlines. They have bloodlines. Meaning that if you're buying a horse that has a bloodline that goes back to some famous horse, or to some well-known horse, then that price goes up. So they have bloodlines. They have actual bloodlines from this horse to that horse to this horse. They are known horses, They are horses that were known in the history for racing, for using in jihad, for different things. So the Arabian horse is very expensive. It's a very expensive horse. And you look at the Emirates, if you look at the Emirates today, and you see the horses that they have, a lot of the horses are living more comfortably than a lot of us are living. They have mansions and servants and all of these things. And they only fly first class, and they only travel in first class, and they're taking care in ways that are unimaginable. The way that they treat the horses. And if you look at an Arabian horse, if you've ever seen an Arabian horse before, they are beautiful. They are from the most beautiful creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the horses in Islam, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Al-khaylu fi nawasiha al-khayru ila yawm al-qiyamah. The horses, on their heads is attached the good, the khair, until the day of judgment. Until the day of judgment. That's why it's forbidden to eat horse meat. Why? Because they are honored creation. They are honored creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and mentioned in the Quran. So the Arabian horse is 10 dirham, non-Arabian horse 5 dirham. He also took 1/5 of any treasure that was buried and didn't have an owner and was taken out. 1/5 was given to the Baytul Mal, was given to the Muslimin. He also Umar radiallahu anhu, he was keen to circulate the wealth and ensure it was not, or it was used and invested. Let zakat consume it as time went by. One of the main principles of Islam is that you don't want to have dead money. And what is dead money? Dead money is when you have money just sitting on the side and nothing is being done with it. Nothing is being done with it. And you might have, if I was to take $10,000 and put it on the side, that $10,000 in 5 years is not worth $10,000 anymore. It's not worth $10,000 anymore. One, because you have to pay zakat on it, so it's going to decrease. Two, everything is what? The prices are increasing and everything is increasing. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he was always keen on what? On making sure that the people don't just have dead money. Dead money just sitting around, not doing anything, not being moved. It needs to be invested. Invested. Even if you just invested by loaning it, doing a qard hasan. A qard hasan to a Muslim to help them in a certain situation. Nabi sallallahu and the ulama have said that al-qard al-hasan, in many times, it's more better than giving charity. More better than giving charity. Why? Because usually when you're giving someone a qard al-hasan, you're either taking them out of a bad situation or you're helping them in a situation to build themselves. So to invest the money. One of the examples is that Umar radiallahu anhu, he was appointed as a trusted to the wealth of an orphan. So he gave that wealth that he had been given by an orphan that inherited that money. He said, he called Al-Hakam ibn al-As, al-Thaqafi, he said, come, take this money, invest it, use it. From 10,000 dirham to 100,000 dirham. He invested, he used it in business. But that gap or that big increase gave suspicion to Umar. He says, how did 10,000 to 100,000? There's something wrong here. So he called, or he investigated the matter, and he found out that Al-Hakam ibn al-As al-Thaqafi was using the information that this orphan was under the care of Umar and was using it as what? As a way to increase in his business. And he was using that position. He was using that position. When Umar, he found out this, he took the money, he took the profit increase, and he put it in Bayt al-Mal al-Muslimin. He was very strict. Umar radiallahu anhu was very strict when it came to using your position of authority to gain money. That's why all of the governors, whenever he saw a governor, okay, you came into governor, you became governor, your wealth was medium. 2 years, 3 years down the road, you became rich. Come here. Why'd you become this rich? And he used to take a portion of their money, a portion of their profit. Why? Because you were in this position. You were not in this position to what? To increase your wealth. Or you are using your name to increase your wealth and your position to increase your wealth. That's why all the governors, anyone who increased their wealth or abused their position, Umar radiallahu anhu, he rejected this completely. He said, you're not allowed to use it for merching, for buying, for selling, for trading. You can't use your wealth as long as you are in that position. Zakat on crops. Umar radiallahu anhu, he took 1/10 on irrigated by rain and rivers, and 1/2 by that which was irrigated artificially, according to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. There's different amount or there's different percentage on the crops that are taken, whether it's irrigated naturally by the rain and by rivers or artificially. The person who is, or the crops that are artificially irrigated, the zakat is less. Why? Because you have to pay. And you have to spend to irrigate, to get water to those. That which is naturally, it comes from the rivers, from the heavens, from the skies. This is what the zakat on it is more. The zakat on it is more to show the wisdom and to show the justice in even that in itself. Also Umar radiallahu anhu, he took out a portion of zakat on honey. If the investors or the ones who had the honey, their honey was protected by the Islamic Khilafah. And it was placed in a position where it was protected by the Islamic Khilafah, so he also took an amount or a percentage on that. The amount of the income or collected zakat that is collected each year or yearly by Umar radiallahu anhu or by the Khilafah is unknown, and there's no precise estimate to say that, okay, the first year of the Khilafah was such and such, second year was, there's no precise estimate or there's no precise number. Those who were employed to supervise the institute of zakat, as the sources they mentioned, from amongst them was Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, the famous Sahabi, Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu, Sa'id ibn Abi Dhubab, and many other people who were mentioned as being supervisors of that institution, and they were all trustworthy people who were appointed by Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. So zakat was one of the important sources of income for the Islamic Khilafah at that time. The second important income or source of income is al-jizya. Al-jizya, that word that is used around on social media or on the news as the Muslimin take jizya, the Muslimin take this, and it's been given a very ugly look upon the understanding of jizya. So inshallah ta'ala we'll be able to give understanding to that concept. Jizya is a tax which is imposed on the individuals from amongst the people of the book who come under the protection of the Muslimin. So al-jizya is a tax that is placed upon the non-believers from Ahlul Kitab, al-Yahud wal-Nasara, who are living under the protection of the Muslimin. Under the protection of the Muslimin. In the beginning of the Khilafah of Umar, he was in doubt whether al-Majus were from amongst those whose jizya is taken or not, until Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he clarified that, and he said, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he took jizya from al-Majus. So we have Ahlul Kitab and al-Majus, who are, or whom which jizya is employed or jizya is obligated upon. It's obligatory upon every free man or every free man of sound mind, not from women or children. So the tax is only, or the jizya is only on the men. Also, it's not obligatory on the person who is insane or the person who is a slave. It is also not taken from the person who is poor, who is not able to pay the jizya, or to the person whom charity is given to. Or is it given to or taken from the paralyzed or the person who has a terminally or is terminally ill, unless they have the ability to pay it. You have some people just recently, what's his name? Steve Hawking, rahmatullah ala al-mu'mineen. Steve Hawking, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon the dead believers. He was paralyzed. Was he poor? It was probably the opposite. He was very rich. So if the person is paralyzed or is terminally ill or has a sickness but is rich, then they still have to pay jizya. The same applies for the person who is blind or a monk who is in the monastery. If they are poor, if they don't have the ability to pay jizya, then they don't have to pay jizya. So it's only obligatory on the males who are sane and who have the ability to pay jizya. So that's the first basic or main information about al-jizya. Al-jizya is waived when a person becomes poor. If someone becomes poor, he was rich and he became poor, the jizya is waived. Umar, he waived the jizya for an old blind man whom he saw begging from the people. Not only that, he allocated for him some money that was given to him from Bayt Mal al-Muslimin. Non-Muslim, he's supposed to be paying jizya. He's poor, he's old, he's blind. Umar saw him begging for money. He said, this person doesn't have to pay jizya. Not only that, we are going to give him money. We are going to give him money to help him to survive. It's also waived if the Muslims are unable to protect the dhimmis. Why? Because a simple question, why do you pay tax? If you do pay tax, if the person pays tax, why do you pay tax? Or the understanding of paying tax is for what? You're paying tax, in return you are getting benefits. One of the most simple benefits that you get is Medicare. Most simple benefits you get is Medicare. And you won't understand the importance of Medicare until you go overseas. Go to Lebanon or to one of these countries, you understand the importance of Medicare. Inshallah, you're bleeding to death and you're sitting at the door, where's the money? Or you have to call someone, do a wasta, call someone who you know to get in. Medicare, this is one of the benefits that you gain. The roads being fixed, traffic lights, all of these things, the public services, all of these things are being fixed. It's not just magically the money comes and we pay for it. No, simple things like that. Tax is one of the main agreements of paying jizya, paying the taxes upon the dhimmis. A dhimmi is a person from Ahlul Kitab who is not Muslim, living under the Muslimin, or living amongst the Muslimin under their protection. The main condition and benefit from paying jizya is what? The protection. Protection from the Muslim, protection from invasion of another country or invasion of someone else. The jizya is waived if the Muslimin are no longer able to protect. And an example of this happened during the time of Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, when he was the leader of the armies. And towards the northern areas of the Muslimin in Sham, the news had reached Abu Ubaidah and the Muslimin that there was a very large or very big army that was being gathered by the Byzantines to attack the Muslimin. And in that area they were unable to protect. So Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, he sends a letter to the governors of those areas telling them to speak to the people and to say this out to the people. What he said, what he sent to them, he said, "We are returning your wealth to you, because we have heard that the armies are massing. You stipulated to us that we should protect you, but we are unable to do that. And so we are returning to you what we took from you, for we are bound by our conditions. Whatever deal we wrote between us will remain in force when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us victory. So take your money back. We're not able to do this." All the jizya that was paid was returned to them. Imagine. All the jizya that was paid was returned to them. And the conditions that we have will remain, will return, not if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us victory, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us victory. The victory is already confirmed. It's just a matter of when, not if. That's why it's very important when you read the Qur'an that the Sahaba and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they never questioned the victory. Is it going to happen? Is it what? In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, أَمَا حَسِبْتُمْ تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. The state of fear that was in the Muslimin until they reached the stage where they said what? They didn't say, is the Nasr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming? Or where is the Nasr of Allah? Where is the victory of Allah? Like many people do. Like many of us sometimes we think. No, their question was what? Mata Nasrullah. When is the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming? When you say when, meaning it's confirmed, it's there. Everything that is coming is close. كل ما هو آت فهو قريب. Everything that is coming, so it's mata, when the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes. This is how they used to think. So the people of whom the money was taken back, or the money was given back to, they said, or they wrote back to Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiyallahu anhu. They said, "May Allah bring you victory, or bring you back to us and grant you victory over them, for it had been them, they would not have returned anything to us. Not only that, they would have taken everything we had left and would not have left us with anything." And that's the truth. If it was them, they made dua for the Muslimin. Imagine. The dhimmis, the ones living under the protection, they say, may Allah give you victory. May Allah give you the opening. May Allah bring you back to us. Why? Because if it was them, they would have never returned anything. Not only that, they would have taken everything and not left us with anything. And this is the understanding of Islam. This is the understanding of the Muslimin. Muslimin never entered, took everything. Just look now on the news. The first thing they are doing is they're going, look to what extent. Look, al-bahdala of them. They're taking fridges and ovens and washing machines and this of the Muslimin, of the areas like Al-Ghuta and those areas. They're taking the what? They're taking the furniture and they're going and they're selling it. And every land, all those lands have been repossessed by the government. And you own nothing. You own nothing. You had something from before, even if you have papers, khalas, it's been taken, it's under the ownership of the government now. All those areas, all of al-ghulta, all of those areas, everything has been repossessed. And has been promised to this person and that person, to fulan and to fulan. This area is yours, you have this land, this gather, this. And this will understand al-kharaj, the understanding of kharaj, why Umar he stopped that. And why Umar he changed that. So it was waived. If the Muslimin were not able to protect them, then it's waived. You no longer have to pay jizya. It was also waived on them if the dhimmis themselves had to protect themselves. If they had to protect themselves, then there's no jizya, there's nothing that is upon them. The value of jizya is not fixed. It changes from country to country, area to area, place to place. This area is known for its wealth, known for its sheep, its camel, its livestock, its crops, its gaza. They have a certain amount, so it's different in every place and in every time. And it's a very small amount. A very small amount. Yani in a year's time, or for 1 year, it was close in some areas to 25 dirham, 50 dirham. For a whole year. Which is really a very small amount that used to be taken or used to be enforced as al-jizya. And even when it was taken of them, he commanded the people, Umar, to be easy and to be lenient with the people when taking of them the jizya. That's why Umar, he commanded the collectors to be kind to the people. When one of them, or 1 year, they came with a large amount, he said to them, I think you have destroyed the people. Umar, he's saying to the collectors. They said, no, by Allah, we have not taken anything that was not given with full permission and willingly. And we only took that which they gave us permission and was given to us willingly. He said, with no force or coercion, you didn't force them, you didn't make them. They said, by Allah, we didn't do any of this to them. So he said, praise be to Allah, who has not caused any force or coercion to happen by my hands or by my authority. And even to the extent where it was, if there was a reason, if there was a cause, would be waived. Or it would be taken willingly, and only taken in a way that there is permission for it to be taken. And this is the way Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to take the jizya from the non-Muslimin. Some of the conditions of the contract of jizya and when it was to be paid. First, there's 6 conditions. The people who are living under the protection of the Muslimin should not refer to the Book of Allah by any criticism or distortion. And it's not allowed for the people to talk about the Book of Allah, to talk bad, to talk ill about the Book of Allah. The second, the same for the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you're not allowed to live under the Muslimin and go out and talk ill or speak ill about the Prophet, peace be upon him. And if this for the Muslimin in themselves, the first 2 conditions, even the Muslimin, it's not like only the non-Muslimin. And the non-Muslimin can go out and speak about the Qur'an or speak about the Prophet, or the Qur'an is distorted, or the Prophet ﷺ in the terms of the rejection, disbelief. The Muslimin are not allowed to do so, let alone the non-Muslimin. They should not mention the religion of Islam with any criticism or insult. This is also for the Muslimin. You can't just go out, I'm a Muslim, I'm going to insult Islam or speak about Islam. No, this is forbidden. They should not also have any relationships or relations with any Muslim women by way of zina or by marriage. It is haram, zina is haram, Muslim or non-Muslim, but also it is prohibited, it is haram for a dhimmi, a person who is a non-Muslim living under Islam, to marry a Muslim woman, to marry a Muslim female. This is haram, this is not accepted. This is not accepted. Religiously, it is haram. Islamically, it is haram. And unfortunately, you have people out there, sisters who are going out and getting married to non-Muslims. Getting married to non-Muslims. And this is something that is unfortunate. They should not tempt a Muslim away from his religion or harm him financially or cause any annoyance because of his religion. You can't tempt. In Lebanon, after the Syrian refugees entered into Lebanon, the Christians there, they were going out to them in the refugee camps, the children, and passing on to them pamphlets about Christianity, about Jesus, about the Christian religion. So they're going there and they're what? They're giving them pamphlets. Whenever there's a crisis, the groups that go out, their main objective is not to go out and to help just for the sake of helping. The main objective is to go out and to spread their religion. The Red Cross, the different groups that go out, the churches, they go out there and they give charity, but their main objective is to what? Is to call to their religion. Even if you see today, if you look, many of us, if not all of us, have had our door knocked by Jehovah's Witnesses. They go around. They go on foot, they walk around and they knock on people's doors. Wallahi, I had one once that came to my parents' house. I was there. She was pregnant. She was nearly 9 months pregnant. And she's walking around giving da'wah to her religion, to what they believe. Nearly 9 months pregnant, she's walking around giving da'wah. I go, Allahu Akbar. Where are the Muslimin? To each other, even just to each other. The missionaries that used to be sent to Africa, one brother, he told us, he was there from Ahl al-Da'wah, he said that they used to shave their heads, the females used to shave their heads or shorten their hair. When they were asked why, they said it takes too much time for us to groom ourselves, to fix our hair, to shower, to this, to that. It takes out too much of our time that we could be out there calling people to Christianity. Imagine, so they'll cut their hair. They'll cut their hair just so that they don't waste their time. I'm not saying for the sisters to go and shave your heads or to cut your hair, but to show you to what it's haram, to show you to what extent that they used to do it so that they don't waste time. They'll shave their heads or they'll shorten their hair, shorter than the males, to an extent where it's very short, just so that they don't waste time waking up in the morning, grooming themselves and going out. And look at the Muslimin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve us. So you should not tempt a Muslim, whether financially or annoy the Muslim, to leave their religion. In a lot of places, a lot of areas, for instance, in which the Muslimin are a minority, even in the Muslim countries, a lot of Muslim countries, you have villages, cities that are majority non-Muslim, and the Muslimin are a minority. So what the non-Muslimin would do is that they will financially constrict the Muslim. Or annoy the Muslim. In order for him, I'm not going to do business with you unless you come and you sit, or you come to the church, or you come and do this, or you come and... They do that. They do that with the Muslimin. They should not help those who are at war with the Muslimin. This is, should be known. You're living under the protection, you're living under us, then you go and you help the ones who are waging war against the Muslimin. This is also not accepted. Umar, he stipulated it should be paid at the end of the agricultural year. At the end of every agricultural year, he would go out and the jizya would be taken, or would be collected from all of the dhimmis and all of the people living under the Muslimin. There are two other ones that I just want to mention quickly. Al-Kharaj. Al-Kharaj, when the Muslimin opened Al-Iraq wa Sham, there are vast lands that are opened. Empty lands. These empty lands, originally they should go to the Mujahideen, or a portion of it should go to the Mujahideen. What did Umar radiallahu anhu do? He cancelled that out, because he didn't want individuals to own large areas of land. And then generation after generation, it will become in the hands of a few people who will have control or have ownership over very vast areas. So what Umar he did, he left those areas under the control of those who were living there. And then from their wealth, they would pay kharaj, meaning that they will pay an amount on the wealth that they attained from those lands. And he would keep it with them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He mentions the ayat of the beauty of war, from that which He mentions, لِكَيْ لَا تَكُونَ دَوْلَةً أَوْ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. one of the factors of Islam is that it doesn't want to create a sense of what? A sense of number of people owning the majority of the land. Where it becomes just a what? It becomes a position of ownership. A position of just a few people, a small number of people, they own the majority of the land or they own the majority of the place. So the kharaj was put in place. And it has two meanings. General meaning is every income that comes in. The specific meaning is the income from the lands that the Muslims opened by force, which the ruler had then left to earn an income for the Muslimin. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he did this with the lands of Iraq and the lands of Syria. We had kilometers, thousands of kilometers of land. This was done with kharaj. So it's not given to a small amount of people or a number of people, and then those who come, the generations that come later who fight for the Muslimin, fight in jihad, they no longer have anything from it. So kharaj was given. Another important was al-ushur. Al-ushur is a tax that Umar he laid or he put down for any merchandise, any trading coming in and out of the Islamic Khilafah. And like today, if you want to import something, if you want to import something into Australia, if you want to import something into Australia, the first thing that you have to go through is what? You have to pay taxes. You have to pay taxes for it to come in. Jumruk, in Arabic they call it jumruk. Jumruk in the English, what's jumruk in the English? The border, what's the tax called? The GST, the importing. When you want to import something. Stamp duty. And whenever you want to import something, you have to pay for it. If you want to bring in a container of something, masalan, it's not like, wallah, bring it in, it's dropped off at the port, yalla, come pick it up, see you later. Yet it was that easy. You have to pay taxes on it. You have to pay money on it. This is called al-ushur. Why did Umar radiallahu anhu place that tax? Because the borders with the non-Muslimin, they used to have a tax on anyone who would enter. And a Muslim would want to enter into their lands, he would have to pay a tax. Entering and exiting, import and export. So anything that you're taking in or bringing out, you have to pay a tax on it. And this tax was set by Umar radiallahu anhu and was taken by Umar radiallahu anhu. And it was first established by him, and it brought in a large income for the Muslimin and a large income for the Islamic Khilafah. And there are other things that we mentioned or we haven't mentioned with regards to the income of the Muslimin, the booty of war, for instance, al-fay, the ghanima wal-fay. These were sources of income for the Muslimin individually and for the Khilafah as well. The way that the income, the finances were spent, fixing roads, fixing agriculture, fixing, we mentioned the development of the infrastructure. Umar radiallahu anhu, he developed the infrastructure. Cities were built at his time. All of this costs money. All of this you have to have an income. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he developed this. He brought out, there was incomes for the wives of the Prophet. There was incomes for the old Sahaba, the older generation Sahaba. There were incomes for the elderly. There were incomes for the widowed wives, for the children. We mentioned previously that the income, or there used to be a percentage or amount of money that was given to the child after he is weaned, after he is taken off the breast or off the bottle. Umar, he changed it to from birth. When the child is born, he gets an income. The people who were living on the borders of the Muslimin, they had an income. The person who was in need, he had an income. Sometimes we think that, okay, the Centrelink and the social help that is given here, and wallah, nahna Muslimin, we don't have it. The Arab don't have it. Because the hardest thing to get off the Arab is money. And for them to give it to the people, unless they want something, unless they need something from you. Like now the intikhabat, like now the elections in Lebanon. Now the elections in Lebanon, the money is being thrown out. If there's no elections, if they don't want you even reach to a stage, I remember, Allahu Alam, that they were flying people from here to Lebanon to go and to vote for someone. Imagine to what extent. Imagine. During the Khilafah, there was the exact same thing, given in justice and given in a way, where the people were given incomes, everything was written down, everything was supervised, and all of this was done by Umar radiallahu anhu, who supervised all of this and perfected it in a way that the economics today, and those who study economics today, they study the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, to understand how he was able to develop and supervise this income that was coming into the Muslimin at that time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who follow in his footsteps, and make us from those who learn lessons from the way he dealt with these matters. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وجزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Every Muslim dreams to be up in Jannah, 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 Jannah. A pious person's destiny. Inshallah in Jannah, 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 Jannah.